Okay, hello, my name is Alfred, and this is a project which a client or a friend of mine wanted it to be redesigned. So I kind of want to do the basic thing for this project, but I'm also going to leverage the framework I built called the um, business object framework. Actually, it is an amazing framework because I've used it in building applications that when you see them, you say, wow, it's something. Let me show you one of them. That's Effective Accounting, which is online. And this is the one running online. You can see the URL. So I use a framework to build the internals of what you're seeing here. And I think I have Effective Accounting running. Let me see what I could do to get Effective running. Effective. Okay, let's see. Maybe this is Effective. So this framework is little, small, but powerful. Is instances, and the backend is entity framework. It support testing, which, if you know your principles of software engineering properly, you could leverage what this framework offers you to do an amazing job. So this Effective, this one running locally, which is what I have here. Okay, the same framework is what I used. All right. So this is a framework and Effective, but actually the framework is the itrex business object model. Core utils, everything it comes with is right there. I'm going to turn this thing off because I don't want distractions. Alright, now let me show you what this framework has. An example is with this framework, you can do virtually, in fact, virtually everything in this project utilizes the amazing strength of this framework and making it more beautiful, even on the web, like validations. So I could give you instances. Example could be, let me give you an instance where this framework gives you some kind of amazing things. So let's go when it's invoice. This is an accounting software still working on, but it can be deployed on your organization and it goes perfectly well. And I want to show you an example. So if, for instance, I have information here, I'm going to add that clients, and let me see, add most of this product. Okay, and what is it I would do here to make that thing pop out? So let me say this 11 grand. Well. So things that could make this framework work now is if I should select another channel and add something like that, and this guy, let me put an item like this one. Okay, so it's not like that. Let's go back to the channel. Okay, add, and I select another add. Okay, let's just create this transaction, and maybe I'm going to do this customer profile. It's okay, this customer, you must request payment. Okay, so same. Then if I validate this, you see what the framework did. It gives you a validation error box or dialog per se. I'm telling you things that are wrong with your entries. For instance, you want a certain quantity from a warehouse and it's not available, and that's the message you get for now. And let's just go edit this guy and remove those guys with various warehouses. And if I validate again, and they say the complete payment is required. So a lot is built into this guy. So I'm going to close this and maybe delete it. And this is the transaction, so I'm going to remove that. Alright, now that's the exact framework I'm using here. We'll work on Effectiv later, but for now this is a project I'm concentrating on. So now I have a driver structure class called driver and some certain things, and I leverage entity framework to make things a little bit faster, but I build on top of entity framework. For instance, this is what I call my repository part in the driver repo, and extends the SQL of driver. So this is a class I created, and you can see this guy inherits from this guy, which happens to inherit from this guy, which comes from the framework. And this guy implemented the repository pattern of T. So what is an repository object? Alright, you may think it's part of .NET. It isn't. It's just my own way of doing things. So find that the repository pattern in that interface, a generic interface, and it has a delete tget object. These are obsolete, but the newer these methods are kind of obsolete. Well, I left that for backward compatibility issues. So, but these are the newer ways of doing things. So let me explain this, because the repository has an amazing feature which I over the years I came to realize that most companies, most books, most authors, most professionals per se always return different data structures. Everybody returns different data structure, but I prefer returning a unique data structure that encapsulates the actual data. And the beauty of this idea is you can send more information about the information you're encapsulating, about the data you're encapsulating. For instance, you could tell the customer, hey, your information is ready. Yeah, the information was prepared properly. There might be other side effects or side objects you want to send to the data that accompanies that main data structure that the end user can consume to make appropriate decisions on the interface. What if there are errors in validating this object? How do you tell the client? Now you have to keep listing these things one after the other. Well, or finding a way to concatenate all this. So that gives issues, because you have to create another method that returns a collection of errors. But encapsulating them is a better idea. For instance, when you create an object, it returns the CRUD operation result of T. Okay, where T is a persistable T. Now that was my initial plan, that I want to glue the parameter T to the object, but I said no, I want this to be loosely coupled so that you can leverage it in other fields, other stuff that doesn't really necessarily need to be persistable. So that's why I commented where T is I persistable T. Funny. So right now the beauty here is that we have a private validator error. We call error log. It's a private field, but there's a public accessor for that, which is I call it validator errors. Yeah, there's it. It's an object called an I validation error. Validation errors. You might be wondering, why would I do that? Now, what are the errors that are returned to the user when there are issues with validating that object? And we do not persist that object. Hey, consumer, these are the reasons why we didn't. So, and a validation error, an I validation error, is nothing but an object that returns an enumerable of validation error objects. So, and that's whatever it could be, hint, current value, field name, and that's all I need to do. Okay, so I have an implementation, default implementation of validation errors that you can use and kind of push in information in it if you want to use it locally in other aspect of your application. All right, that's okay. But the beauty here is that this guy, validation error, is already implemented by every persistable object. So you don't have to do it in your classes. I want to look at how we could leverage that idea. So this guy simply returns all this guy. So the success when this action is successful, well, maybe I could have called it success, is an array. Now these are kind of ways of telling the end user the kind of data you returning is not necessarily need to be assigned if they don't need to check on that. For instance, when you return the data, you might tell the person that this data structure is an array of what you're expecting. Okay, they could read this and populate the information in an array form. All right, now the data is a template, okay, which is generic type of that T, which is kind of the object you want to return. And there's a container, other things you want to send is authorized if it's to require an authorization. Then there's an exception, okay, there's a server exception, which is this exception, and there is extra data. So all the logic goes in there. So with the repository pattern, I have the create and create a sync thing. We have the create object with the criteria. We have the update and update with the criteria, and also I think that's where I stopped. So we made it a little bit simpler. Okay, so I may be updating this framework to accommodate for new changes I'm seeing in building complex applications. So we have the default repository, and this guy which implements these kind of add more flavors to alleviate most of the challenges you may have implementing an interface often and often. So you just have to inherit from this guy, and what it does is it goes ahead and implement the default for most of the functionalities you have here. And another interesting thing is that a default repository has a user context priority. That's kind of, if you're going to inject a user, as if you have an application that want to authorize user or authenticate users, you can read the current user that has logged into the system, and you can check other things. Like for instance, an action can only be completed when this person has logged in. All right. So and maybe from there you can check for permission to do whatever they need to do. So it has this obsolete stuffs, but as an interface, it has to implement most of those stuff. But the beauty is I have a lot of other things I did, so I don't have to go into every line of code here. So that's the beauty logic. So that's how I inherit the SQL, which is embedded in this particular software, utilizes that beautiful logic. So the SQL is kind of the representation of my repository pattern for SQL Server that leverages also the entity framework. So you can write a pure SQL Server DAO, and it's glued to the framework automatically. But that doesn't stop you from swapping repositories or a memory repository. So you can create a memory repository, a cloud-based repository. You can even find a way to chain all of them. It is possible, 100% possible. So that's how it is baked. All right, let me close on this one. So here, this guy is a driver, and because it's going to be persistable, we inherit from the default persistable, passing itself as a generic parameter. Then an I client could serve as a metadata. Okay, so when we want to check for who are a client, an I client object, a driver is a valid I client object. So this is just an interface I defined here with nothing in it. So now, what is a default persistable? Okay, inherits from the base def persistable, and you can see def inherit the I persistable T and I validatable. So can validate itself, can persist itself. So this is the only thing this guy has. Default repository T. Remember, I didn't give you an I repository stuff. I just gave you a def repository. So I was trying to make life easier for you. And the data source and object ID def repository get default data source. So these are the things I just gave for a persistable and nothing more. But for the def persistable, there are more to that. For instance, I give you default date stuff, I give you as user context, I give you a lot of beautiful things that you could use to check a lot of things and make your life easier. Kind of implement a lot of good things for you, and that's all you need to do. Okay, so I build on top of something, and that's how this section was achieved. Okay, now this is a default persistable, and the driver is now sitting on top of that, and you can see how the class is just tiny and little. This function here, it's any data store that has been attached to it, like create driver profile method, simply called a create object and passing itself as a reference, because this guy is asking for what? A driver object. It's passing itself, and that's all. And so someone could just create this instance and hit create, and without asking for an ID, which a default ID will be sent to you. The whole stuff has been created. But how does it get created? Well, let's see a test. Let's do some beautiful things. So now you can see that I have this thing say we overrode the get default data source method, which actually does this interesting thing. It says object data source factory for drivers or driver, check the data source, get it for me. If it is null, then return a new driver repo, which is this guy. So I'm not gluing the repository. You can swap it. You can use this guy, and everything goes perfectly. So let's see what happens. And nothing's gonna happen here, but let's just persist the first data. Now you can see I have this guy here called create driver, and I'm not going to do any validation, just for us to see what happens. Okay, so no validation. I don't know about logging in, so we're not even checking logging in to create a driver profile. So we don't need that, because users can just simply create a profile without having to log in. But this is the beauty here. We just say this to entity, which is a method here where I fix things. All right, just fix things inside there, and that's all I need to do. Then I could just say, for now, I could just say okay, DB. But you'll be asking, where is DB coming from? DB is the data. This comes from the default stuff. Okay, so I call the IJ data and driver dot add, and it's gonna add E, and that's all we need to do. Then we call it save. You see how beautiful and simple this could be. Now what really happens now is that we did this, but Look at this signature. It said create a CRUD operation result of driver. We're returning that, but we need to pass information to the end user what happened. So here we're going to say a default message is could not create driver profile. Okay, this is could not create driver profile, and that's okay because we couldn't create it by default, and rest by default is false. So but we're going to say the data we try to create is the object. Alright, now this is what we try to create. We're just passing it back to the end user, and that's all we need to do now. But when this succeeds here, we could say rest of is success true. Before it is false, I think so. Let's see. Is success has a default value false, right? Okay, that's what it is. So it's false, but you can explicitly say it is false. You can make it when none is false, then write out the message. Let's say driver record, driver profile created successfully, and that is it. We created it successfully. So could you imagine that this is done? This is how we can create a data in the database. There's no going to SQL Server. Everything now actually works, and we're going to test that. So that's one method for creation. But I think okay, let me just go ahead and do the example like I said earlier, but I need to fix some connection string to a database we're using. So I'm going to come right here. Where is that apps connection string? I'm going to pick this guy. Okay, actually I just need the database name, which is IJ. Wow, I'm using the wrong database name. Yeah, the wrong database name on the clients, which is not, doesn't make sense. So I have to come right down here. I think on the web client, that's where I included the right database name. I need to fix those things before it gets to the state where I couldn't. So that's the database name. But now, because we are going to test this integration testing per se, and because it will involve database, I'm going to do a little in-memory testing to test some fucking things. I'm going to change this guy, and you can see that's the connection string. I don't think I need this guy, but let me just paste it here. I need this row base section of this stuff here. Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna close it. And let's see our main test plan. Oh, this is a test plan that was planned 50 years ago. So I'm going to remove this guy and call it M. Okay, there's no text main here. I would put a class for, it's got test main, and this would be old test main, and this comes with what we call a main method. So void main is C#. So this is our entry point. Now before we do that, we need some beautiful things here. We need the using assume dot assume dot apps dot in outs dot core dot model dot flag. Alright, so that's what we need. Then let's create a driver d equals to new driver. You could have a factory for that. Okay, so let's say we fix this information like the key or ID, anything you want to call it. Let's say driver dash 01 and name, first name John, last name Doe. Okay, and what are contact address, and we call this 120 Lemon Street, Guion Street. Alright, no problem. Contact address true. So remember, there was no specific stuff included here. So driver 4 is gonna be their constant. I think that's a constant. But it's a driver type for self. Okay, and driver for ID should be myself. So when this is self, means the current ID, and okay, so let's just fix some other things, you know. So let me just see what is needed. License class is so we have to have constants for license class. Let's say class A license. So this is just a sample. Okay. Date on, date time, dot today, dot add months. Let's say we'll add 8 months. That's what's going to expire. Oh, there's a comma. License issued date sign dot today dot add months. I'm going to put a minus 4 months ago to make it a year. Oh, let's see, 10 months ago. License states license 10 dot license number equal to alright, so we just put that way, and I think verified by history data. I think this way we're going to start. So these are the few details we want to persist, but the default data source has been assigned already. All we need to do is to say data crud is equals to d dot create driver profile, and that's all. Then we could now say if the just what I've just explained prior to this time is if this was successful, this is how we check if it was successful. We now say we just say do something here. So we could do other things, right? Like for instance, we can say let's just write what we had, white line, and crowd message. And but this time around, because we checked this guy, we could console color for console color, sorry, for foreground color, console color dot blue, so color dot let's say blue. Okay, now else we just do this thing. Okay, so maybe the best way to do this is to print this here once and change the color here. Okay, so this will be red. Okay, now this creates this object in our persistent store. Alright, now what if you want to have various persistent store? Should we test that? Yeah, we should test it. Okay, we could go here. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna hit our test case, and we're gonna hit here, and hit here, and hit here, and maybe hit here. Okay. Alright, expand hit here. Oh, let's debug that. So this creates a driver object and does a check-in and persist. Now just note that there were no validation. This is how you could build on top the framework I told you I built. I took time to leverage it, and I know it needs a lot of improvement over the time, to make some other things that you may be facing possible, but a lot of things I have into consideration when I thought of it. So I think it has some good, amazing thing to do for you. Alright, now you say the program does not have a static void main. That should be a static void main. Okay, so we have to run again the bug. So now the test started and finished. Build completed. Was I building or testing? Which one? Testing it and building. Yeah, building was successful. Debugging is where we are. Alright, so the application has just started and it hits here the main method. We're trying to persist. Let's just go down. I see it gives us our default stuffs and driver for organization. So actually I wanted this to be driver for whatever it's going to be. So but let's just go ahead and so I'm going to out of this guy and run this guy. Now we're gonna hit the create and see if we're gonna hit our database or crash on hitting that database. So creation is gonna go ahead and see if it's gonna create. So this is the driver database table. Target ready. Are you done running? I think you damn it. Alright, now so it went and hit that. Okay, and let's see, is it true? Alright, so which means we have successfully persisted this guy. So this is a beautiful thing I told you. So it's gonna go here and change the color. As you can see, no text yet, and print the message. and driver profile created successfully. So when I go here and let's see, I'm gonna see I don't know what are we here done data identify. How do we see your data? How? Okay, it's good job, generate. Okay, let me just double click this. I could go here with the main database, but I prefer to do everything outside the SQL Server, except some intrinsic real business rule that need to be changed. I will go to SQL Server to alter that. And secondly, the most important thing is my system is acting up. I need to get a powerful system, which is over $2,500, but I can't afford that now. I need to get a better system. Now you can see our driver profile showing us driver 01 John Doe, the license numbers for sale, for client, the address, everything there, no, class A, the date. Okay, you can see interesting things are included, and this is as very simple as possible. And now you may be asking, okay, how do we test this? How do we test this without having to build a data layer to test this whole idea? All right, we have it covered. So all you need to do is to create your repository. But the beauty here is that you can also leverage the repository I offered you, which is a SQL Server repository as your base, and override things you need to override. But maybe it should be a structured way of doing that for drivers, so that it has a base repository, which is SQL Server repository has from and do its own implementation. Maybe considering that, or we start from scratch. So let's just start from scratch and do some new repository. So I'm gonna stop the tests, and I'm gonna come here. I love Rider. I wish I could get it 2018, but I don't have that money. So I'm gonna come here and create a class. I'm gonna call it crazy data. Okay, crazy driver repository, memory repository, or fire repository. Okay, so I don't have a battery now. Click on repository. Alright, so this is a class, and what makes it a repository? So we could go and implement the first repository. So extend. In C# you have the column. Java say extend. So we have to extend the default DAO. Alright, or actually DAO. Okay. Alright, so we could do this DAO. Okay, default repository. Okay, not that one. Default repository. Before that, so what did I call it? I didn't import anything here. So default persistable is there, and I don't have a default repository. It's just SQL Server as default. So what can we do? Because we are not implementing SQL Server, let's just go back to get a clear view of what actually we intend to do. Now you see this guy says the repository says we are extending the, where is it? That's it. Okay, yeah, we extended this guy, and this guy extends the for DAO. So this is where we're going now. We're not doing anything connection string. We're not saving to whatever we need to save to, because if we should actually inherit this guy, then we need to override this, and we are now glued to SQL Server DB context object. Alright, this is DB context object. Alright, in our DB context object. So the glue in there is the glue in there. So, but we don't need that. So we need to be free from all that. We are assuming we're not using SQL Server for the database. We could be using MySQL, Postgres, Oracle, whatever. So we have to have its own special kind of default repository. So we have a default there. That's the default dial off with persisting a driver, and that's all. So doing this, we need to implement missing members, and it has its own save. But remember, we have the save, which has a way of saving itself. We don't need to do anything here, nothing necessary. Alright, but what are necessary are when we need to override things like the create object of driver, and these are what we need to do. So we are going to do this, and we're going to say I'm going to show you how to do this perfectly. So in some context, you could have these two things. For instance, if you are testing, you could use a crazy driver memory repository for your test cases, but when you're deploying, you're gonna now switch to the SQL Server version, and that could be done with an if statement, a constant that tells you, hey, we are in development or testing phase, or we are in production phase, and all that. So this is the flexibility, and those information can be stored in your configuration file. You good to go. So, but for now, we're just focusing our attention on this. So this guy gives you the driver, the crazy driver memory, whatever. So let's just say, we're going to say, hey, let's just say we're returning a new CRUD operation result. So let's just do that. CRUD operation results. Operation result of the driver, and we're gonna call it result like the other one. Okay, result, and it's goes to new CRUD operation result, and we say message is goes to driver record created. Okay, test. Testing. Alright, so and we could say data is goes to objects. We don't care where it's coming from, so result is successing. We're gonna set that to true. Now we want to do some interesting things. So just return the rest object, and this guy. And now beauty is the best. Now we could say if the object dot key is equal to driver dash 001. All right, which is what I used previously. So I just want to reject the 001. Alright, so 001. The object is this guy. Then we want to say rest that message. You can not create a driver profile. Wait, and let's use our interpolation for C#6, and we're gonna put that object dot key. Gonna create a Java profile with ID. This is second time. again. Okay, okay, so say choose, come on, choose another unique ID. So unique in spells. Alright, now that's it, and we can see right on the sources. We can reject this as false and good and fine. Otherwise everything goes successfully there. Alright, now this is one thing. The other things we could override, for instance, we can say okay, something exists and all that, truth and false and all that. This guy could also encapsulate the main database if it knows about it, and also check on the database. So that's a flexible thing we have here, but currently it's going to be using the default. So how do we make it not to? Now, before ever we could run this is the guy here that does the repository stuff. But before ever we could test this guy, we have to inject our repository to the driver. We don't have to do it here. We just say object data source factory of driver. So whenever you go to the dictionary of data sources, data source currently, you should set it to we're going to set the data source to new, the credit data memory stuff. And that's what we need to do now. You can bootstrap this somewhere for an application. Bootstraps as testing phases before the whole thing kickstarts, and this guy now picks that as what it's going to use. So how does it know? Okay, so object data source factory is an idea. What it does is it goes through all cache data sources and return what you need to have. So it's just a static member. That's all you need to know. So let's go ahead and test again. So I'm going to hit this. And we're going to check the data source for this guy when it loads. Okay, so we're gonna create this guy and let's test this guy's data source. So we expand this. What is his data source now? Okay, the base and the base of that base and the data source is a crazy driver memory repository. So when we hit this guy, you find that it says no, we can't be successful because you cannot create a driver profile with ID. See that? So that's because the library, the framework I created, the business object framework I created, no name for it now, is it gives you that beautiful solid principles when you're building your enterprise application. So that's what we get. So I think that's the next thing to have. So I'm going to run it all through and that ends, but let me just go here and create this one O2 and we run again, and it's gonna create that. It's gonna come here. Let's see where it's gonna hit. So it hits this guy now. Oh, great driver. Hits here and say return this guy, and step out and hit here again. Actually, that's what it's going to get. So the data source is what the data source is. So everything went successful. Now you can see it from the message. I don't know why I pressed twice. So that's exactly how this works. Oh, just stopped everything. Alright, so that's the beauty of this guy. Okay, so there's a second section of working with the business object framework I built that you can leverage as a starting point or a template for building enterprise-based applications on the .NET platform. So I'm Alfred Obiang once more. So I need to go further into making teaching or showing you other aspects of this framework, especially from the repository aspect and also from the business the model aspect. So let's go back to the driver client class. So here, let's start with validation. You might be saying, okay, how do we validate things? Like we've been told when you're building web apps, you could still use JavaScript to do validation. What if the user turns that feature off? Well, you can still do the validation of the client, right? So on the server, sorry. That's yes for now. Yeah, you can do validation, but you can also do validation on the core, which is this. And because if you still do the validation maybe on some ASP.NET application kind of layer, then the client layer, what if you want to use it on mobile? When you're building APIs, what if you want to abstract this idea, because multiple applications are going to leverage the same logic to spawn up a new application, kind of. What would you do? So that's why I prefer the core, and maybe other aspects could come on other layers of this architecture. So here you can always do this. For instance, we want to ensure that a license the license number is given. Let's see, without touching our default repository, we're gonna check what happens. All right, we're gonna check what happens. We're not gonna touch the our in-memory repository. We're just going to do something with the validation and see what happens. So let me just come here and override validation. So I'm going to say, normally, let me just put it down here. So validation logic. Okay, now I'm going to say override the validate. Now that's the iValidation error validate. So based on validate. So what you're going to return is an iValidation object. So I'm going to put my validation error object. All right. Let's put a new validation error object. Okay. Validation error object. So you could call it iValidation. iValidation error. Oh, it doesn't implement that. Oh, I thought it was what I had. Okay, it's an error log. Sorry. New iValidation error log. Okay, that could be a funny name, but I can do things like add errors. So we just have errors. So I prefer what I have here. I have the errors and the errors property. So get set. See, it's a get. So you can set it, you can set it actually. So I'll just simply use this guy since it's also that's an interface. Then here I'm going to use a validation error. The errors. Error. Hold on, I'm going to the other methods here. So I call this guy error. So errors, and just call it errors, and so errors out. So errors. That's what I'm going to return to this guy errors, and that's just how I want you guys to use it. So errors, and that's all. and nothing will happen. If I should test this again, I'm just going to hit here. It's going to tell me everything went successfully and this item was created. So let me just go right here and stop this guy from initializing. No, just right line. So let's just stop there. Wait for it to compile. Okay, hopefully. So build was successful. It's about running it now. And yeah, so here we should see created, right? Put a blue test. Alright, so let's just move on. So yeah, the record tested. Alright, so that's good. And when we run again, terminate. So now let's do some funny things and see what happens. So we'll go back to our driver client, and here we're gonna say, let's just add one error, because maybe you cannot be a client, you cannot be driving for yourself and also be kind of for a company client, kind of. So error. So let's add an error. The error is an error object or a string field name and a message you want to pass into. So let's just say, okay, now let's say the field name, license number format. Okay, number. So say the license number is not in an acceptable format. Please check again. Alright, so we just have that one added, and that's it. We just add one error. So let's just run this again and see what happens. And hit that and see what happens. And this will go down the road. Okay, we're here. I'm going to hit here, and validation for some fields failed. So you just have this error that says validation of some field fails, but we don't know what it is. So this is the beauty of the framework. So here I'm going to go to text main and want to make people understand why this thing failed. So in our reasons, I want to check if if we have validations error. So if core.has, okay, now we don't have a way of checking that thing. That's tough. So we just have to count dot errors. That's counts. I think I should have a way of doing that. I think I should have a way. Oh, we have has exception. Okay, maybe I'm gonna include it in the new update to have a field we read to know that yeah, we have our validation errors included. So here we're just counting the errors and checking if we have a lot of them. So here now we have to we may now have to trick the message and push in some information. So I think I'm going to put this thing here. I'm going to push this up so it prints first, and we'll leave the default message there, and here we're going to set looping true. So for each of the error message in our CRUD dot validation errors. So we have an error here, and now we could print the log. So let's just write line, and the line is error, maybe the field name and the hint. Okay, and write line error, that's hint. It's in current value. Maybe I'll refactor most of this and they'll be better. So let me just so these are the things we could do to make them work perfectly. So just to hit this guy again, stop and rerun, and the whole thing works. So this is it, license. So I want to stop and rerun this, and hopefully we're gonna have that message. License number is now in acceptable format. Please check again. So this is what we could actually do. Okay, to allow the user. So we'll check back on the next video. Thank you.